All righty, tidy. It's that time of the week again. This is Joga Afro. My name is Mbizom Zamane, and this show brings you all of world football from an African perspective, as African as it could possibly get. But of course, we deal with everything from across the globe, everything football from across the globe. Before we go any further, please hit like. Please hit subscribe so that you can follow us, and any new videos that come up, you're keeping abreast of everything that's happening. I'm with the gents as usual. I'm with the guys. Chadley, let's start with you just because I like the color of that sippy cup. What's going on, my dude? Give a shout out to the peeps at home.
Well, once again, we got the club turning up on a Tuesday. Let's get it. Let's go. It's time for Joga Afro.
Hola, Chadley. Thanks a lot, boy. Appreciate you. And then, of course, we have the ever-present, has been here on every single episode thus far, is the Shohonolo, Kohi Ramuki. Kohi, give a shout out to the folks at home, bro.
Away, Mr. Consistency here. What's up? Again, please, guys, thank you for coming through and watching the show. Please, thank you for your support. We really love you guys for coming in and pitching in and communicating with us. So we appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you so much. Please, again, enjoy the show today.
Enjoy the show, folks. Okay, so last week was a little bit lighter. We were able to shoot the shiza on a few different things, including the top 10 African footballers of all time, which, of course, these guys, they're wonderful pundits, but they just dropped the ball on that one. I mean, can you imagine not having Mohamed Salah in your team, after this weekend again, Champions League? On the weekend, goal and assist against City, crushing guys. Anyway, let me not get into that too much. But as for today,
that was reference to the head boy.
As for today, all right, we're going to get into a few things, folks, okay? Most importantly, we're going to talk about this whole COVID thing in relation to world football. And I'm talking world football outside of Europe, because Europeans have not been so prejudiced by all the rules and regulations around COVID. But South America has. So we're going to talk about something that happened between Brazil and Argentina a month or so ago. And then some things that are happening on the continent as a result of these COVID restrictions, blacklisted countries, etc. We're going to talk about World Club Cup. We're going to talk about what's happening on the continent and some other of our third world brothers and sisters in the diaspora as far as football management is concerned. And then we're also going to tackle something that one might say is beating a dead horse, but the horse isn't dead. I wish the horse was dead. It's not. It's very much alive, and that is racism in European football. So we're going to get into
stronger than ever.
Stronger than ever. We're going to get into that at the end. Mara gents, the thing I want to hit on first is these COVID rules and restrictions. Okay? So a month or so ago, Brasilia met Argentina in Brazil. Okay. Rio de Janeiro, next door, my city, my peeps. Okay, the game kicked off. Okay, the game kicked off, and just as things were getting underway, some Brazilian health officials stormed onto the pitch. Health officials from an agency called Anvisa, which is the health regulatory agency. They bust onto the scene, and they requested support from the federal police to prevent some of the Argentinian players from playing because they were in England, because many of them play in England, many of them play in European countries, and they were supposed to participate in a quarantine of 5 days or something like that.
10 days. 10 days.
Right? So they're supposed to do this 10 to 14-day quarantine. They didn't. And then Anvisa comes onto the pitch and says to these guys, Emiliano Martinez, Buendia, Giovanni Lo Celso, Cristiano Romero, says to them, no, you guys can't play. In fact, you need to be deported. What are your guys' initial thoughts about this issue?
Okay, first and foremost, the game kicked off. I would have said, continue the game. in my personal opinion, I would have said continue the game. There's no reason to stop a game 5 minutes on, because then it just makes the L that you took look much bigger than it actually was.
Mm,
You could have just done post-match sanctions or whatever the case may be,
mhm,
try to apply to dock points or whatever the case, but you've already started the match.
mm.
So the fact that you've already started the match means continue, get the result, and then we take it from there. Simple as that. Now
It
to
really
come
is.
in
Yeah.
and detain, because that's what they did.
That's
They
what they
Yeah,
did.
they
yeah.
literally came in, took these four guys, and hypothetically put them in a police van and
Yeah,
sent them on their way.
yeah.
And how must it look for, firstly, guys who are meant to be examples, you know, to little kids, to and role models, to ever, to be detained? Second of all, this is an ambassador for your countries.
Mm,
This is, on a public relations scale or a global, how do I put it? So even a global socioeconomic scale, this debacle should never have taken place, and all because of an administrative issue.
yeah, and I mean it's pretty ridiculous, right? Because it's not like these gents snuck into the country. I mean, you're talking about
Exactly.
international footballers who clearly, in order to even be in the country, have to go through certain procedures, have to go through immigration, have to go through all the supposed uh you know uh um
Precautions.
precautions
Protocols.
that yeah, protocols is the word I'm looking for. So they go through all of that. They're in the stadium, they're dressed, they're on the pitch, they're ready to play, and only now do these Anvisa gents show up and say no, you actually, you four can't play. What's your initial reaction to this, Ramuki?
Well, when I read the story, at first I said to myself, well, how did they even get into Brazil?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So how did they get in? So now they say, well, there was lies that they were told, etc., etc.
Yeah,
Well, but
yeah,
how many people actually get away with lies at the airport?
exactly.
So
No.
clearly, I think it was
Let
just a
alone
scheme to
international
disrupt
footballers.
Argentina. That's
Yeah,
all it was.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So that was just a scheme to do that. And it backfired miserably because now even the country that you're trying to help, inverted commas, well now also suffers. Because now you guys are going to be sorting out this issue for a long time. But my other
Mm-hmm.
issue is that all these guys come from Europe. This is the same Europe that gives everybody red lists. Brazil is on the red
Mm-hmm.
list, Argentina is on the red list, right? So my statement is, if the protocols in Europe are so high standard, these guys should be fine, shouldn't they? Because we're looking at their protocols. So they should be fine to play
Mm-hmm.
because they come
Mm-hmm.
from Europe. Isn't it so? So what is it that they're worried about? Because in their clubs they were tested. They were tested. That's why they were playing. They were frequent players there. It's not like they were
Mm-hmm.
quarantined there. They were
Mm-hmm.
playing and they were tested. Everything was all right. So what is the big deal? I understand if maybe the argument was the Argentinian players that were playing in Argentina in the red listed, again inverted commas, in the red list,
Yeah, yeah,
aren't
yeah.
allowed to play because of the protocols and precautions. But that wasn't the case. So what
Mm-hmm.
statement are they trying to make here?
Mm-hmm.
Because this, for me, I saw it as it's directed to actually Europe, not Argentina or any other countries. It's directed to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I saw it.
Well, yeah, yeah. Go on. Excuse me. Go
Because
on.
I found it very ridiculous that the UK guys, the guys that are playing in the Barclays Premiership, are the ones that are told you have to go and have the precaution. The
Yeah,
protocols are not done
that's
right.
also what
But
I
the
read
French,
into it. It seemed
the
like they
French,
singled
nothing.
out the Premier League guys,
Exactly.
which seemed rather strange. I'm not sure if it is because their stadiums are almost open full flow, or what's happening. But the Argentinian officials did second what you were saying here, which is that they felt that this was a ploy to disrupt Argentina. They
Yeah.
felt as though, if there was a problem, they had been in the country already for a few days in preparations for the match. Why
72
didn't
hours.
why didn't things get flagged beforehand? Why didn't they come to the hotel? Why didn't they contact the authorities beforehand and say, listen, there's a problem with this, this, and that? Why wait until the game has kicked off? Not even pre-game.
Yeah. And you know what's even funny? You're removing 4 players, right? But they were surrounded by everybody in the team.
Exactly.
So in those 72 days, clearly, probably one of them caught something.
If these trends had something,
exactly,
then everyone would have something. Or
so clearly, that Brazil shouldn't be playing at
on
all.
both sides.
They should have been postponing the game. In fact, on both sides, that should be the case.
Yeah.
So what is the argument?
I found it.
What is the argument?
Farcical, and these are part of the problems. Yeah, go on, my friend.
I also see it as Elvasa. Is it Elvasa? The organization. Anvisa, right? Here's where I find it tricky. You know that they're gonna play a qualifier. In fact, when was the Copa America? Wasn't that also a month ago?
That was a while ago.
That was July.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they knew that this game was going to be played. Where was their preparation to make sure that all these people are doing the right things? There was no preparation. So it actually shows their incompetence, to be honest. More than anything else.
Well, here's what the Argentinian folks said. The Argentinian folks said that there were protocols, there were things that they were supposed to do upon arrival and whatever, and that anything that they were asked to do, they did.
Was done.
So that was the argument of the Argentinian officials and the Argentinian FA, is that whatever was requested of us, we complied. So why is it now that after we've complied with everything you've asked us for, all of a sudden you're showing up to the football pitch to stop the game?
Yeah. In fact, how did they even get into the stadium?
Yeah, exactly right. So
how did they even get into the stadium?
So all these kinds of questions. But let's branch out from this, because it's not just in South America. I really only brought this up to give an example of some of the issues that are circling around coronavirus. So what happened was, I think around the same game, there were a few Brazilian players that weren't released from, I think, the Premier League. Okay, your Fabinhos, your Richarlisons, etc. They were not released by their clubs in England because Brazil is on this. Is it blacklist?
Red list.
I don't know. It's some kind of list. It's never a white list. It's always a different colored list. Yeah, the white list is the good one, right? Yeah, white is the good list. Okay, but this red list or blacklist, Brazil is on there. So they weren't releasing their players, because if they release their players for World Cup qualifiers, when they come back, they have to do a 2-week quarantine or something like that. And the English clubs thought that they would be prejudiced. But how prejudiced are these countries who are doing World Cup qualifiers without their best players? Because in Africa, the same thing is happening. Salah is not going back home to play. Sadio Mane is not going home to play. A lot of big players, iconic players, even Hakim.
Ghana have 5 withdrawals now.
Ghana have 5 withdrawals. So all these things are happening. So the CBF tried to ask FIFA to not allow those Brazilian players to play for their Premier League clubs because they weren't released for World Cup qualifiers. Their bid failed. But what are the implications of all of this for African teams? Because if even Brazil cannot get these European clubs punished, what hope do African clubs have for getting their best players released?
None. In fact, we go to plan B. We go, well, let's look at the guys that we have that we can start and we can play. That's what we do. We never fight. And this is, again, I don't want to make it too much of a political thing, but Africans need to really start uniting and stop having little small groups. Well, I'm Ghana, I'm Cameroon, I'm South Africa. They need to really start becoming really united in their field to say, listen, if you guys are going to be doing this, this is what our approach is going to be, to be honest. Because now you look at all the African players that are not coming back to Africa to play in their qualifiers, right? World Cup is when?
Yeah.
Is next year.
Next year.
So does that mean they're not going to play in the World Cup?
Imagine.
Or is it because everybody's gone, now you can go? So now we must look at your objectives, but we can't look at the countries. And the exact same rules and these are the rules that European gives to Africans. You have to play certain amount of games
Yes.
for your country for you to be able to do that. And then you say, screw that loyalty.
In a certain ranked league. Yeah,
exactly.
in a certain ranked
Yeah.
league and so on. If you don't have 60% of your national team games or what there are all these rules.
Red tapes.
Yeah.
There's all these red tapes for you to even play.
And then you don't allow them to go home to go and play these games that make them eligible for your work permits.
Exactly.
Imagine.
So where do we show our loyalty? Where do we show our loyalty? To the money or to our country? Because that's the question where it is. I mean, we honestly speaking, Salah and Sadio, I think they're big enough to say, you know what, we're leaving. We're going to play for our country. I think they are big enough. I understand that the new ones, the ones that are coming in, can be a little bit timid and scared about it.
Yeah.
But if Salah and Sadio did that, because I believe an Eto would have said, I'm going.
I'm going.
I believe an Eto would say, literally, I'm going.
Yeah.
That's the type of leadership we need.
Yeah.
I think it also proves that why they're not in my top 10.
Ah, head boy has spoken. The head boy has spoken. Head prefect.
It's fine. I'm going to leave this one. I'm not going to hit that one. It's a hot potato.
Okay,
but Chadley, from your perspective, tell us what you think about this whole deal, bro.
Look, I agree with our head boy Ramuki over here. I honestly feel that our problem as Africans, and I'm not even going to say African footballers, I'm going to say as Africans, as people of the diaspora, of people within Africa, our problem is we're too quick to bow down, honestly. We're too quick to cave, in my opinion. There's absolutely no reason, as Klochi has mentioned, there's absolutely no reason why, big time players like Salah and Mane and even Hakimi, for that sense, couldn't say, no, I'm going to go play. What are they going to do? I'm indispensable. Sack me. I want to see you try and sack me. Me who's scoring all your goals. Me who's getting all your assists. I want to see you try and sack me. And, it takes a big player to do that. But it's not really that big of a choice. I'm going to make a simple example, not necessarily related to, but I mean, Percy Tau of South Africa did that. He's like, I'm not playing at Brighton. I'm going to go play for my country. You can quarantine me for 2 weeks. So, And
okay, but the difference with him was it wasn't starting.
Hate him for it. Yeah, but I mean, they didn't hate him for it. They had to accept.
He's just giving an example of a player that,
Yeah, but
decided
that's what I'm
to
trying.
be patriotic.
No, I understand that, but I mean, he left Brighton, so they never want again. They didn't want him. That's why they transferred him to leave as well. So it's very easy for a player that's been sitting on not even sitting on the bench, right, to say, listen, I'm going to go play some football. But I'm talking about a player that's playing day in and day out, a huge, huge icon in Africa. For him to say, or for them to say, I'm going to my country to play, is a far bigger impact than Percy Tau.
Of course.
And again,
he's not denying that.
But
he's not
but I understand your point. I just think I think it was a lot easier for Percy to do that than for Sadio and Salah. Because now those two go out, I think Liverpool then are mid-table this season.
But you see, here's part of the thing. And this is what my point will be. I hear you guys talking about each individual player standing up for themselves and saying, no, look, I'm going to go play for my country. But in this particular instance, for example, after the English clubs refused to release the Brazilian players, the Confederation of Brazilian Football are the ones that went to FIFA and said, look, release our players. They should either release our players or they should be sanctioned. Our players should not be allowed to play in the following two fixtures in England. If they're not going to release our best players that we need for our qualification, then they should not have them at their disposal either.
And I
Right?
agree.
Where was? But my point in saying this is, where is Safa to stand up for our players? Where is the Nigerian FA, the Ghanaian FA, the Egyptian FA? Where is CAF,
Where's Kev?
the
Where's
governing
Patrice
body? Where
Motsepe?
is CAF? Where is Patrice? Okay, where
Bowing
are these
down.
guys?
We know.
Exactly. These are the gents that need to be standing up to say, look, listen, especially in our circumstances where, as we all know, World Cup, AFCON, big tournaments for African players are an opportunity to get seen, to get out, to get into bigger clubs, to make money. And many of these guys, it actually doesn't just benefit them, their families, their villages, their countries as a whole. So
My man.
these are key moments. Even the qualifiers are key moments for African players to get recognized by bigger clubs around the world, not just in Europe.
Yeah. But I also want
Around
to
the
look.
world.
I want you guys to look at this contradiction because I just made a little bit of research in terms of why certain countries are red listed, right? Because you have to have a certain percentage of vaccinations, right,
Yes,
for you to get out of the
70% or
70%.
something.
Do you
Mm.
understand that most of the countries in Europe are actually at 65%?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
65% and lower. The
yeah.
only country that is 70% is Israel. So please tell me, how are you so pedantic about these rules, but yet yourself, you don't get this right?
Yeah, well, I
That's what
mean,
I
well, we
don't
know
get.
that one. We know that one. That one is easy and is simple. I mean, look, okay, we can all agree that there's been some underreporting of COVID numbers in many African nations. But I have many of these African nations that are on this red list or these black lists or whatever. I've heard almost nothing coming from there about how much COVID there is.
Yeah.
Uh, so why
Yeah.
are they on this list? Well, we know why they're on this list, because they're African nations, and if they weren't being looked down on already, they're obviously going to be prejudiced and looked down on by a disease that didn't even come from them, that was actually brought to the continent by Europeans. Okay, so so
You
so
know.
we so we know that one. The question is, how do we
Yeah.
stand up to these behaviors? Again, where is CAF? Where is SAFA, who is a large entity, not just governing body of South African football, but is a large entity, a respected entity in African football? Where
Africa.
are we
Mm.
to say,
In
no, guys,
Africa.
this shouldn't be
Yeah.
happening? Because this is prejudicing Africans, not just for the World Cup, but there's this snowball effect.
Yeah.
There's more indirectly
Mm.
that is impacted by the absence of the largest African stars in our World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I,
And
I mean, I also
they're
believe
big
that
stars in world.
CAF. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm saying, and they're
I
big
think
stars
CAF
in
could have
world
also.
football.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Got it, gents. You
okay.
guys are getting your wires crossed. In fact, let me interrupt you both and just say what's up to everybody who's just joined us. If you have joined us, any of those of you who will be watching this later, thank you so much for tuning in. At this current juncture in time, we are talking about COVID regulations and restrictions and how it's affecting African countries in particular, because of the prevention of top African players playing in Europe coming back to represent their nation. Big ups to On Go Liberia. Been here week in, week out. Appreciate you being here. And of course, everybody else as well. Gents, if you don't mind, I'm going to cut this topic short so that we can keep it moving. Okay. But Chadley, talk to me. What's happening with the World Club Cup? I know that Japan gave up on hosting the World Club Cup. And then South Africa jumped in and said, okay, we want to host. But now there's all these issues surrounding South Africa being a blacklisted nation, needing a 70% vaccination threshold and whatever. So what's the deal there? Can you
Okay.
enlighten us on what's happening there?
Okay. So the story is that Daniel O'Donnell, I think a couple weeks ago, the president of SAFA, announced that we would like to host the Club World Cup, right? The facilities are there, it's available, and with the country having been dented in its biggest industry, which is tourism, it was looked at as an opportunity. Okay, let's host a Club World Cup. It will be historic. It will be the first. However, due to our COVID lockdown levels at the time, we were on level 2 lockdown, and the restrictions were pretty stringent in terms of any type of hosting. We still don't have empty stadiums until the 12th of October, I must say. We don't have, we're going to play in empty stadiums. So that's the one thing. The second thing is South Africa being a red listed country. There are negotiations taking place for South Africa to get out of the red list due to England not having enough truck drivers, ironically, and needing South Africans to do that, which is weird. But those negotiations were on. But at that point, SAFA said, we are going to withdraw because of all this red tape regarding COVID. We might not be able to host Chelsea, who are the big pullers.
Yeah, the
big
team,
crowd pullers.
Yeah.
Due
So
to South Africa
they've
being
given up.
red listed.
So South Africa
They
has given up
withdrew.
on hosting.
They're out.
They're out. Okay.
There's still no host.
Okay. Again, another complication spanning from these COVID restrictions, these blacklisted countries, and so I mean, we all know that these are all functions of power, right?
But
These are all
Mbizo,
functions. Yeah.
sorry, man. This is where I get frustrated with South Africa now. I think at the time we were also on level 3, 4 during this whole them wanting to host, right?
No, it was
Because I
level 2.
remember
Level 2.
It was level 2.
No, the first time they announced it, I'm saying the first time they were announcing it were on level 2. Then obviously we went up because of the family meeting, right? Because of that whole, I think stage 3, because of that whole stage 3rd wave thing.
Oh yeah.
Right, and 4th wave coming up, right? And then they moved us back to stage 4, I think at the time, right? I'm trying to understand from a management and common sense perspective, right? You knew from that we weren't even no fans were allowed in stadiums. Number one, you knew that vaccinations rollout was poor, because I think we're on 21% today. 21%. Okay, the two doses I think were on 15%. Right, and you're trying to get to 70%. That's low.
That's high
Countries
for Africa.
Yeah, for in the African context.
Yes, in the African it's high. Yes, but I'm saying it's low for what
World,
Europe wants and what the
yeah.
world wants. Was very low, right?
Sure.
So we know that. So with all that information, by the time you had this information of wanting to host, what is it that was going through your head? Why did you even
thought it would be
apply or want to host the thing? It doesn't make sense.
Honestly, Ramuki, what you're getting into is something we don't even have time for. The common sense of SAFA leadership. We don't even
I'm going to pitch in my short opinion on why I think they did it. And it's a typical African management problem. We look at a problem and we want to come with a short-term stopgap solution. So the problem is the tourism industry dwindled hard. And that's South Africa's biggest economic cash cow, our tourism. But they saw, okay, tourism's down, let's host a big event. They didn't think of, okay, so now what? They thought
logistically, how does it work?
The glitz. They thought of the glitz and the glamour of the fact that we're hosting the Club World Cup. They didn't think, okay, what are the potential setbacks? How are we going to attain certain goals that we want to do? They didn't look at the process, they looked at the end goal without realizing that that's not how you're going to get the end goal.
I'm glad that we're talking about African governing of football, which is all really a microcosm of the governing of everything else. But let's continue down that vein. Uh, here's Samuel Eto'o, icon of African football, running for president of the Cameroonian Football Association, right? Of the Cameroonian football governing body. Can gentlemen like this, with more exposure to well-oiled systems, to better exposure to how the governance of successful governance of football is implemented, obviously well respected, not just on the continent and in Cameroon, but the world over. Can someone like Samuel Eto'o make a huge difference? Obviously, not just to Cameroonian football, but to influence as well in CAF, because these type of the presidents of the FAs would have a say at CAF. Does someone like this make a difference does push African football in the correct direction?
I'm going to say yes, and forgive me if I go on a rant. I'm saying yes in terms of Samuel Eto'o.
I'll cut you. I'll cut you. If you start talking nonsense, I'll cut you.
I have valid points.
There's a button here.
I have valid points.
Remove.
I have valid points. It's fine. I'm in Africa. I know about dictators, not as well as my fellow Africans, but it's fine.
Okay, Chadley, before you actually
But yes,
so that I don't stop your flow, let me just deal with some of the comments here. On Goal Liberia says, the problem is they, CAF and each of the country's governing bodies, don't want to pay these guys the money they deserve. So why will they stand up for their players, right? So the very same, this is a good point, the very same FAs that don't support and pay the players, the coaches. There's the Nigerian coach, hasn't been paid for 8 months. The Malawi team, the government said they don't have money to give the Malawi team to go to World Cup qualifiers this month. So why should the players then come in? Why should their players fight to come and represent these kinds of places? And why would we imagine that any of these people would fight FIFA or the FA, Premier League FA, and so on to release the players? Right? I think that's a really, really good point. But sorry to cut you, Chadley. Tell us, go on your rant.
Okay, this is my rant. First and foremost, Samuel Eto'o might just be the most qualified in terms of CAF presidency, in my opinion, in the longest time.
CAF presidency.
Yes.
The whole continent.
I'm not even talking about Cameroonian. I'm talking about CAF. Now, this is Cameroonian football. He has firstly, 2 years ago, his name was in the hat for the CAF presidency. But the FA told him, no, wait. We're not ready, basically. So clearly, Sammy has been conjuring up his way into this field for a while. And Sammy is a learned man. This man has an MBA and an honorary doctorate in France. He's Dr. Samuel Eto'o. I actually recently found this out. Amazing. A doctorate in football. They basically started a whole sports management course in France and piloted Samuel Eto'o. So that's the first thing. Second of all, this is a legend in world football, in African football, and not just a legend on the playing field. He's a legend for standing up for Africans.
Yeah.
This is a man who set an example on the field and off it. He's been a cornerstone of our footballing history for a good 15 to 20 years. So why would we think right now that he would not make a difference? Because even if the guy stopping him try and stop him with the usual tricks, the usual corruptions, Samuel Eto'o's not going to back down. He's going to either expose you, or he's going to do something, or he's going to fight, or he's going to find a way, but he's going to break walls.
In fact, he's already pledged that should he win and so on, that he will the entirety of his salary from the FA would go directly into investment. So the man is basically going to do this thing for free. He's paid.
Yeah.
He has money. I mean, it's Samuel Eto'o. Money is not something that he needs. We all know that. But he's actively said, okay, all the money that would be my salary, don't give it to me. Boom, into Cameroonian football. Immediate. That's something that he's already pledging. And for me, this is the kind of personality, not necessarily stature. Okay, we don't need people of this level of fame, but the kind of personality, the kind of character that we need as presidents of these FAs, naturally of countries. But now let's scale it down to football of these FAs, because we know that Samuel Eto'o will stand up to Europe where it needs to happen. Will stand up to FIFA where it needs to happen. He'll stand up to CAF, of course, if it's necessary as well. One definitely needs to stand up to CAF once in a while. And that's certainly the kind of mentality that will drive our football forward. I mean, when I saw that, I wished so much that it was CAF presidency, because Mutsepe is not doing it for me. We gave him a chance. We discussed it. We were skeptical, but we said, you know what? Let's give Malome a chance.
Yeah.
But he's failed us as much as
he's dropping the ball.
Yeah, he's dropping the ball. He's dropping the ball.
Yeah. You know what? With my thing with Eto'o, I'm hoping that the little things don't make him now focus too much on it, like poor administration, guys maybe messing him up with policy. Do you understand? Like those little small intricate things. I just hope they don't mess him up, where he focuses so much on it.
You can't run for a president of anything in Africa without the knowledge that these are the kinds of things you're going to have to deal with. So I hope, 100%. So I agree with you.
I'm saying I hope
better have been prepared.
Yeah, I just hope that, because I mean, you come from a place where things are run so organized that even the racism is organized, for example, right? Right. I'm just hoping that he can go to a place where it's so dysfunctional that he knows that, listen, I'm not going to prioritize this because I feel like this will. I'll sort this out, but let's sort out this.
Yeah, let's look at the bigger
let's get these victories first.
Yeah,
before we sort that out, but also making sure that this monster doesn't grow bigger.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that those type of things kind of don't mess him up. But in terms of his personality and his character, and the fact that he's going to stand up to, number one, his own country, number two, CAF, number three, the Europeans, and number four, FIFA.
Yeah.
I've got no doubt, and I just hope that he has the backing of everybody else in Africa when he does that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be in a situation where they're like, go alone.
Go alone.
Go fight your own battles. At the same time, he's fighting everybody.
Yeah.
And because he's benefiting everybody.
We'll complain in whispers. We'll complain to each other, man.
Yeah.
Why are these people doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And then someone will stand up and say it. And then everyone,
instead of helping him,
everyone will keep quiet.
You keep quiet,
and let them deal with the situation alone.
Guys, also this belief of you become a president of your association, or you become a president of CAF, for example, then it gives you the seat to FIFA because you want to be in FIFA, because you want to be accepted. I think as Africans, we need to stop that.
Yeah,
honestly, we need to stop it because they don't have our best interest in heart. So
I feel
we should actually be the opposite. We should actually say we do not want to see it, but we're going to make noise.
Yeah,
that's how I see it. Because there are certain things that we can agree with, but they're very little with FIFA.
Yeah,
and on a bigger scale, there's a lot to disagree on.
That's because they removed our brother Sepp. Sepp was one of us. They saw that Sepp, Sepp, you're doing too much for these blacks. Well, now step aside.
Move away.
Yeah, move away.
Sepp would have put 10 teams in a 48-team World Cup.
Yeah, so they got Dr. Evil there, Infantino, and they said we're gonna insert you, Goldfinger. You know, yeah, I'm telling you, my man, I don't trust that guy. Just look at him, and I don't
Yeah.
trust him. Gents, let's move on, folks.
But on the
If you're
question,
there,
oh,
yeah, go ahead, Amuki. Last
there
thing, and
was
then
a
I'm moving on from
there
you.
was a question that you asked. Why must the African players come home when they're not getting paid? I
Yeah,
think the
that was
one of the most
from
important
yeah,
thing is, yeah, the question that you asked, right? I also believe that if you're like, for example, if you're Sadio Salah, I think you're earning so much money, right? I don't think coming to play for your country, you should fixate yourself with the
on the
payment that you're
money.
gonna get because
Yeah,
you're already getting a lot. I feel like
yeah,
the fact that you played for your country and the fact that the country made you be in that state, in that environment, I
yeah.
think the reward for that is, listen, just help us get to a place where we can we can succeed.
That
Okay,
applies
but
to
let me.
but that applies to
Because
high profile players, right?
Mm,
Not because you have your smaller
100%.
guys. You have your smaller guys who
Yes.
can't afford to do that.
Yes, but now I remember there was a point in time Etos even said to Cameroonian players like, listen, if you guys are having issues with money, I'll
I'll
pay for
pay.
it.
I'll pay.
I'll pay for it. Do you
I
understand?
remember
I mean, this is
that.
the mentality you want. I understand the little kids, the 18-year-old boys that are kicking in, getting in, they're not earning big money yet. I can understand
Mhm.
when you guys when you say to them, listen, we'll give you a little bit of bonta here because we're making a lot of money. All right. This is, I feel like, the Ubuntu, as we say in South Africa, the Ubuntu that we need to have
Yeah,
in order for us to succeed as a nation. Never mind a continent, as a nation,
yeah.
because we have to start there first. Because we haven't won the World Cup yet in Africa.
Mhm.
When is that ever going to happen if we
But
split by money?
Yeah.
okay,
When is
but
that
wait,
going to happen?
not to
No,
put the
speak,
spanner in the
speak,
works.
Umchana. Speak,
Yeah.
speak, speak,
But
dog.
but our biggest thing, and I always look at Brazil when I think of this.
Mhm.
The Seleção have never paid a single player ever.
But they
And
no, but they pay now. They pay now.
do they pay
They pay,
now?
they pay now, and they're
That's why
paying
they're
That's
their
not winning the
horrible.
women,
World Cup.
and they're paying their women the same amount of money that they're paying their men. They
But
are
that's why they're not
paying
winning the
now.
World Cup
Oh,
now.
but that's
Fair
why they're
enough.
not winning the World Cup. But
Fair enough.
where I'm getting at is that it was always a sense of national pride. And
Yeah.
historically,
Yeah.
African pride has been taken away. We
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
the reasons, we know the stories.
Yeah.
African pride doesn't necessarily exist. So, me playing for the country can only be a bag. That's the only thing that can lure me
Yeah.
to play for my country realistically. Obviously, I love my country. Obviously, I want to play in the World Cup. Obviously, there's, honors that come with it. But essentially, at the end of the day, pay me, because the sense of national pride, the sense of patriotism doesn't exist due to what Africans has had to go through.
Mm. But you see, I guess that's what I guess I'm trying to say is that can be recultivated. But it has to be recultivated from the top down. It has to be from the head, right? It has
Mm.
to be the head that then feeds the rest of the body to say, no, this is how we're going to do it. So, for example, I'm willing to bet that Cameroonian football will almost immediately improve under Samuel Eto'o if he's elected, uh, because he'll immediately bring an attitude of self-worth and pride.
Yeah.
Just
Mm.
that alone from the top will
Yes.
trickle down into other people that are below to say, yeah, this is how we want to feel about ourselves. This is how we want to behave. This is how seriously we want to be taken by the global football community.
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
things can be recultivated.
I mean, you know what I'd wish. I wish we could come to a point where when African play in the Barclays Premiership, La Liga, League One, where the African players are like, geez, you guys won the World Cup, well done. Like you guys were really one of the best in the World Cup. Instead of just
Mm.
saying, oh, I can't believe they even reached the final or the
Mm,
semifinals
mm,
for
mm, mm,
quarterfinals.
mm.
Where we need to come to a point where even with the success in the World Cup, because I think they also need to understand this, even in the success in the World Cup, also improves your money for your club.
Yeah.
So if you're
Yes.
looking
For
about the bag,
everything.
if you're
Yeah.
looking about the bag, the
Success
fact
brings
that
the
you
bag.
guys won the World Cup
Success
also
brings a bag.
puts more. Exactly.
Success is a bag.
Exactly.
Success is a bag.
Maybe we'll be
Mm.
taken seriously if Ghana, Senegal, South Africa win a World Cup, for example.
Yeah, we will
Maybe
be
when we
taking more
even go to the
Nigeria.
world stage,
but
Nigeria,
we'll get
whatever.
into that. We'll get into that another time because there's a lot of policy and a lot of funny stuff happening at FIFA there that play a large role in why we cannot go far or win a World Cup at this current juncture in time. But gents, I'm going to cut this conversation short and we're going to move on. Well, really not moving on, just a different sort of aspect. Okay. So over the weekend, Victor Osimhen, Kalidou Koulibaly, and
Yeah.
Frank Anguissa, playing for Napoli in Fiorentina, racially abused in the stadium. Sparta Prague racially abused Cameroonian Chouameni a few months ago. And then they received a ban. Okay. They received a ban. And this ban meant that they couldn't have people in the stadium. But then they allowed people in the stadium. They allowed 10,000 kids in the stadium so long as they were accompanied by a guardian. What do these European kids do? They come and they boo Kamara every time he touches the ball. Kamara had accused one of their players some time ago of racial abuse, and that player was found guilty, by the way.
The Rangers game. I remember that
The
game.
Rangers game, right? The Rangers player. Hungary was recently fined 160 euros and 2-game match ban, no fans in the stadium, for abusing the black English players at the beginning of this month. Okay. There's rampant online abuse all over the place. Okay. So, gents, okay, before I even ask you guys, because I'm going to give my perspective first this time. Before I even ask you guys, let me drop some knowledge. Okay, let me drop some real SHIT on everybody right now. Okay. It is not, will never be, could never be profitable for Europeans at any level, at any institution, to seriously, in any capacity, tackle and deal with racism. You cannot, as a black player in Europe, be under the expectation that FIFA and UEFA or whatever FA that you are playing
part
under
of
will do anything to seriously put a dent in racism. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because European society, as we know it today, football or not, was built by racism. The English Empire becomes the English Empire via racism and colonialism, imperialism. France, same thing. Germany is the same thing. Any country that's worth a damn in Europe is worth a damn because of things that they have taken, okay, from nations of color, from Africa, from South America, from Asia. So if you want a governing body, FIFA, UEFA, to seriously take care and deal with racism, it's a slippery slope for them. Why should they? Because if they do it in football, they're going to have to do it in society. If they do it in society, the very fabric of everything that exists in these nations falls apart because it was
in the
built
world.
by racism. In the world, the very fabric of our society was built by slavery and imperialism and racism. So for them to deal with it in football, we then ask questions and then we say, okay, but now not just the stadium. What about here? What about in school? What about in travel? What about in education? And then all of a sudden, the European veil is broken, and their society collapses because it had become dependent on racism for its very existence. So let me just first say that if we want racism in football to stop, it has to be on the backs of the players. It has to be, as we said, your Sadio Manes, your Mohamed Salahs, these Victor Osimhens and Koulibaly, to just step up and say, listen, I will not play another second of football on any European pitch until club gets a 1-year ban, cannot participate in UEFA competition.
In competition.
In competition, 1-year ban, no fans. Boom. Right? Relegation. Your fans come and commit racism in the stadium, relegated. Boom.
Dock
Immediate
them.
ban. You're gone. Second division. When we start attacking these people's pockets, right? When we start attacking these people's pockets, or people start getting jail time, people's lives start getting ruined, that is when racism will stop. Because let's all just be very frank with one another. We're not going to reach anybody on an ideological level, on an intellectual level.
No,
Hate
we're
is
not.
wrong. We need to stop that nonsense. Nobody's getting that. Nobody's gonna go along with that. That doesn't work. What you need to do is say, okay, fine. You're not going to be a decent person. You're not a decent person. Well, this is what we're going to do to you if you don't behave decent. You can be evil, but keep it inside. Because that's what it's come down to. We're always trying to appeal to people's emotions and intellectualism and humanity. There is none.
Try to make them understand.
Yeah, we're always trying to make people understand. They will not. They will not. It's not going to happen. So the same way you can't prevent every single person from doing crime, but you instead have a punishment, which one can deter, but two, for those who don't obey, they get punished. It's as simple as that. But you see, that can never be implemented until the black players stand up and say, me, I'm not going to play. I won't play in that stadium because they are still allowed in this league after their fans racially abused me. Done. Bang. Imagine if every single black player playing in England did that. Who's going to be able to field a full 11?
Yeah.
Nobody. Nobody.
Okay. My rant
except okay, one team. One team.
Burnley will be able to field one. Burnley will be able to field one. The same place where they flew a banner above the stadium that said White Lives Matter. Same one. But my rant is over. Yeah. Gents, what do you think? What should be done? Racism in European football. Wagwan, talk to me.
Look, at the end of the day, you covered basically everything. You covered basically everything. I believe in the same. Dock them. That's the only thing that works. Dock them. And the problem is, which is a win anyway if you dock them or if you punish them, is that the true colors will come out. When the true colors come out through revolts, through violence, through, the breaking of stadiums, the protests, the flares, all of that. When that comes out, then the European dignity that they're so proud of gets unveiled. Gets unveiled. I mean, we look at England with the Euros, and I don't think there was any real human being with like morals. Of course, you have the cloud chasing, the hype chasing people, believing it's coming home. But I honestly would have despised England winning the Euros simply because this is a country that has condoned hooliganism of the highest order. They have perpetuated racism. The GBV stats when England played.
They are the first ones to criticize your Hungaries, your other Eastern European countries, where we know, obviously, Russia, where we know that racism is quite rampant. Ukraine. They're the first ones, the English, especially on social media and so on, to say, "Oh, this is awful. Look at what these Eastern Europeans are doing. Oh, they should be more like us." But players are getting.
What are you doing to Bukayo Saka?
Yeah,
Bukayo Saka.
Exactly. The English are abusing Black and African players. They have been forever.
Exactly. What do you do? And the problem is that with England, they have a face to keep up. They have ideologies that they have drilled into the world over time. So they have to keep up a certain facade of, oh no, we have to stand up, we have to be open, we have to be liberal, and all of this and all of that, the kumbaya stuff.
Mm.
But in reality, it shouldn't be tolerated no matter where it is.
Mhm.
If you're going to say something is wrong, if I go to you in Sao Paulo and this is wrong in Sao Paulo, knowing that it is wrong in South Africa, I expect to be punished
Yeah.
for that wrong. So why is it that we always have to play double standards
Yeah.
when it comes to certain things because of who it's affecting? No,
Yeah.
if something's wrong, it's
Exactly.
wrong.
It's wrong. Mhm.
There's black and white, there's gray areas, we understand. But at the end of the day, if something is wrong, let's see it as wrong. If it's not wrong, let's not see it as wrong.
Mhm.
Or let's look at how it isn't wrong.
Mhm. Yes,
Simple
we've
as that.
lost. Yeah, we've lost Ramuki, but I'm sure he would have liked to comment on this. But yeah, but precisely right, Chadley, and I guess and that's my frustration, I guess, because I think it comes down to similarly what we were talking about our FAs standing up and so on and so forth. It's a question of um, us standing up for ourselves, you see, because that's part of the problem across the board
Mm.
with Africans. We are expecting the very same people that invented racism, that invented colonialism, that invented imperialism. We're expecting these very same people to now
Who are
regulate,
gaining.
who gain from it. They gain from it, they live from it. We are expecting them to eradicate it. But why would I eradicate something that is the very reason why I exist in the way that I do? The very reason I have become who I have become, I now will just get rid of it to to
Imagine.
accommodate you. You see, so for me, it's ridiculous that these players keep saying, "Oh, FIFA, what are you going to do? UEFA, what are you going to do?" It's obvious, nothing. That's what they're going to do.
I have a
Okay, that's
question.
what they're going to do. Before you ask it, hold on to that question. Let's hear Ramuki's side because we lost him for a little bit, but now he seems to be back. Ramuki, what are your thoughts on this racism in Europe, my friend? Oh, he looks frozen though.
Yeah, that was the first non-attendance by our head boy on the show.
Ramuki, can you hear us, buddy?
He's there.
Okay. Well, let's hope that he comes back and can hear us and can participate. Chad, ask your question, brother. You said you had a question.
Okay. So last season, Mario Balotelli was playing at Brescia in
Mhm,
Italy.
mhm.
Knowing that Mario Balotelli is the poster boy of racial abuse. He's the
Yeah,
biggest target of racial abuse in world football. We've accepted it. But not to say Mario Balotelli has not done some suspect things in his time. But there was a match where he deliberately kicked the ball into the stands and
yeah,
walked.
yeah. I remember. Mhm.
And right after that, Mario Balotelli mentioned that, us as black African players, they won't be there for us. We need to detract. We need to leave and go back to our home leagues, our home countries, and play there. And, he said it, he made a valid point, but the problem is it's Mario Balotelli who said it. So my question is, what impact would it make if it was someone of a higher standing, of a higher stature, who said that,
Well,
or
you know
anyone
what?
else
Actually,
besides?
you know what? Actually, I don't think anyone even thought the point was a bad one. I think here's I think in addition to what you're saying is that the major problem is less that it was Balo. It was more the fact that this guy decided to represent Italy over Ghana. Italy. Okay.
Mm,
Fewer places in Europe are more racist than Italy. Okay. You decided to represent Italy. Now, after you've represented Italy, you've made all your money, you've lived your life, you're nice and lavish and relaxed. Now, everyone must go and play in Africa, where it's tough, where you have to deal with government, where you have to deal with issues that you never dealt with. I would have accepted it from Balotelli had he done that. Even now, he was a free agent. Balotelli could have gone to play in Africa for free, couldn't
He
he?
could have.
Not free, but like a menial wage,
Yeah. A
right?
Santi Kotoko or something.
Yes, he could have gone home. Not even necessarily Ghana. We know he's Ghanaian, right? But he could have gone to Egypt to play. They have money to pay him in Egypt. They have money to pay in a lot of these North African countries. TP Mazembe
They
is an
do.
iconic club. He could have gone there to play. They would have paid him. Al Merrikh in
They do.
Sudan, Sundowns, Pirates, Chiefs. They had enough money to make his life comfortable in South Africa. Lead by example. You see, that's the problem with guys like this. He's just show us what you're saying you want other people to do. We must all go. And then soon after, he goes and signs a contract in Turkey. Turkey,
Exactly. Which
one of the most
also,
racist places as well in Europe. Incredibly racist, Turkey. Right?
where he could
So
have gone and lived lavish in Africa. You want to
happy,
choose
no
dirty
racism.
toilets,
Yeah.
dirty jails,
And racism.
racism. Yeah.
Okay. So that's my beef with Balotelli. Listen, I think Ramuki is back. Ramuki, are you there? Can you hear us now, buddy?
I can
He's
hear you.
here.
Can you guys hear me?
Now we can hear you. Now we can hear you.
Yes.
Hit us, boy. Hit us. Now it's your turn. It's your chance to
Okay.
shine. Tell us racism in European football.
Nothing frustrates me more than black people asking for white people to help them in this scenario. Nothing frustrates me more because you go to complain to the guy that's actually hurting you. That's essentially what's happening. I mean, I'm looking at
Exactly.
walkouts. I'm looking at walkouts in games, and certain players are coming to them and going, "Oh no, it's okay, forget about them." We know
Yeah.
why you're saying
Don't worry.
this.
Yeah.
I know
Don't
exactly why
worry.
you're saying this.
Uh-huh.
Don't ignore them. Ignore who? They're
Yeah.
not saying this to you.
Ignore them.
They're not
Exactly.
saying this
Ignore
to
them.
you.
I see
Tell
that all
me.
the time. Oh, the reason why
Like,
racism still exists is because we give it attention. Are you stupid?
I mean,
Are you
please,
stupid?
come on, come on,
You,
come on. I mean, you know what I'd want. You know what I'd want, and this is the only way this is gonna work. Is if any racism happens, black, all black players leave
Yeah.
stadium, get
Yeah.
changed, boom,
Exactly.
goodbye, and
Go
they
home.
leave.
Mhm.
And I would like it if the clubs themselves say, and we're taking the rest of the players out too.
Yeah.
like
Because that is
Dembaba
the
did.
But you see, but
what
that's the thing that I'm saying is
whatever
that's
you
the
want
thing
to
I'm
do.
saying is not going to happen, Ramuki. The club won't do that because the club is worried about fines and money and papa. But that's why it's the
But
black players, the African players, the black players and African players, and actually of any color, not
Hmm.
non-European, because Son Heung-min was also racially abused. Arab
mhm.
players are racially abused. So all these guys must just come together and say, you know what, let's bounce. World football will collapse without the black footballer. Am I wrong,
Yeah,
gents?
no,
It would
you
definitely.
know,
If immediately every black footballer in the world just up and said, you know what, shop, we're not until you sort it,
we'll go
we're
play in
not playing.
China. That's they pay
Yeah,
more. They pay more.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
go to China.
We're,
We'll pay,
we're
they
done.
pay more.
We're done. Yeah. Led, of course,
It's
by
so
your
Done.
bigger players, your bigger profile player, higher profile players. It
yeah.
ends, gents, because that's the thing that these people will understand most. Again, pockets. It is not profitable to end racism, but it is also not profitable if 15, 20, 30, 40 African players, black players up and say next game
We're
week,
leaving.
we're not playing next game
Again,
week.
We're
You'll
not.
play without us.
and this is and
Even better if these European teams say, okay, fine, we're going to continue without you. Because then
better.
again, that European veil falls away, and we see truly that these people have no concern for this issue.
And
Yes.
you know what shows me that I don't know if you guys touched upon it when I wasn't here,
Go
but you
ahead.
know what shows me that racism is like the last thing on their minds to sort out that we get a super league
Yeah.
in Europe. They say, listen, we want to get the best teams, yada yada yada. Clubs now, everybody's going crazy, and then I don't know if it took in less than a month.
No, what do you
They
mean?
said we're
It
gonna
was a
remove
day.
you from
It
the
was a
association.
It was
week.
a day. It was a day or
The
two. They
day,
had already.
the week,
Oh man, it was a matter of
a week
days.
max.
Boom, boom. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Boom, everything was
Yeah.
happening, right?
Yeah.
And I think I heard one comment from one guy who said, "This is how you know that racism can be tackled and it's not taken. They're not
Yeah.
using it as a priority.
Yeah.
When now
It's
the
not a
Super
problem.
League
Exactly.
is here, now people are saying that they're gonna lose money, and now all of a sudden, now people want to do something. That's the first one. The other second one that I can say that people never took it seriously. But this is why I like I forgot the boy's name from Crystal Palace. Um,
Zaha.
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 uh, Zaha, when he said, "I am not gonna kneel. I am not going to kneel for this
Mhm.
BLM because me kneeling for this BLM, this is the only thing that they want to do for us. They don't want to
Yeah.
do anything in
Mm.
policy. They
They
don't
don't
want to
want
do
to do
anything in
anything else.
punishment.
Uh,
They want to do anything in terms of something that can actually stop this nonsense. But they
yeah.
just want us to have our little day just before the game. And then after
Yeah.
that, oh, racism continues as per normal.
Yeah.
In the game, that same game.
Yeah.
That same game, right? And then
Yeah.
the thing is, they're not just attacking the players that you don't know about. The players are not good enough. They're attacking the best players.
They're attacking everyone.
They're attacking the
There's
best
no
players.
even
The
online.
arrogance that
These
they
guys
have.
can track credit card fraud and these kinds of things. They can track them like this. But all of a sudden,
Yeah.
racism happens. Oh, and they don't know. They can't do. Man, I saw something where it's like in England, I believe, dog
Mhm.
owners who treat their dog badly or who put a brace, I don't know, some stupid thing on a
You go
dog.
to jail.
You go
That
to jail.
electric,
You
what,
risk
what?
jail time
Yeah.
and then
We
5,000 pounds of fine and all of these sanctions for the mistreatment of a dog, but the mistreatment of a black person doesn't incur the
wait.
same level of fine and sanctions. I mean, it's farcical. But this is what I'm trying to say to you is that you cannot go and rely on the same people who are propagating these systems to then
100%.
look out for your black behind. I'm sorry, let's just put it out there. If you want
Blackie
racism to
has more
end,
rights than a black man.
I'm telling you, if you want racism to end in these regards, you have to use your power to do it. You have to coerce. There's no asking. You have to break the doors down.
And you know where it's going to
You
start as
must
well.
say.
You know where it's also going to start as well, or it's going to be
Hmm.
the other steps that people need to take. All these black Africans in Europe go play for their African countries.
Go, yeah.
Stop
Interesting you should
infusing
say that.
the same people you're
Interesting you should
fighting
say
for.
that. On goal, Liberia said that precisely. When I said if the black players all stopped playing, the French national team won't exist. Uh-huh.
I mean,
Even these days,
imagine,
many more. England. Will England won't have a
imagine.
team. America won't
Oh,
have a team.
oh no,
No.
Jamaica would be one of the best teams they'll have there.
Oh, I'm saying. Do you see what
Jamaica
I'm
would be
saying?
a
So,
good.
yeah,
Trinidad would qualify for World Cups.
I'm telling you, my boy. So
Yeah.
this is what I'm trying to say is that I think there's also a lack of recognition from these players, how much power they actually have. They think they are still
Have.
just little cogs, little components in the system. When right now, actually, they are the system. They are.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, if
You
every
know,
African player in Europe just decided tomorrow we're not playing anymore, it would devastate European football. Devastate European football. Not just at the club level, at the national team level. It
Yeah.
will devastate European football. Countries even like Denmark now.
oh,
Countries like Denmark, countries like Switzerland, they have Africans, they have immigrants.
Don't we see racism
oh, please don't talk
as
about
hate
Brill. My
speech?
heart's breaking. Sorry. I just had to put that
Go
out there.
ahead, Kofi. We can't hear you,
Some
Ramuki.
people-
One more time, buddy.
I'm saying, don't we see racism as hate speech anymore? Or is it
No,
just,
but you see, but that's the thing. It's supposed to
I'm
be.
saying, don't we see racism as hate speech?
And that's the thing. It's supposed to be Ramuki, but again, it's not being handled with the severity of other crimes. Say something against Jewish people, say something against Muslims, and the reaction is so much swifter. It's so much harsher. It's so much more focused. But you see, black people have always been on the bottom rung, bro. In the world we live in,
Yeah.
not say always, excuse me, since colonialism and imperialism. Africans have always
We're
been on the
too nice.
bottom rung.
We're too nice.
We're too accepting of this stuff. And
Mm,
and if
we
we
are.
really were to put our foot down and like I said,
I,
and all of these guys just say, no, we're not playing anymore. If you people continue to do this, it's done. We're out. I'm off. Huge let me see a lawsuit, huge what do they call it in America when you do a lawsuit with many people, class action,
Class action.
Oh yes.
huge class action suit. All the best lawyers from
Straight to
Africa
FIFA.
and African Americans, boom to FIFA and say, this is
Yeah.
why we're doing this. You'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see. And these guys need to understand that they actually do have the power to do that, but they're not pulling the trigger because life is too nice. It's comfy.
Yeah. They speaking
That's why
from
we need
a.
to
You're earning, you're earning millions and you don't want to mess that up.
That's why
Mm,
we need more Samuel Eto'os.
That's the problem. Aha,
yeah. You
100%.
know what?
Because if we get
You know what,
Samuel
my
Quickly, Chad,
Eto'o's,
you're gonna have to make a quick point because we have 4 minutes.
okay. My thing is, how do we get these kids, these up and coming kids, to choose their African countries? How do we do that when they will up and tell you, no, I was born here, this is what I know, even though your parents are dead bang African?
Get
You
your
eating
get your
jollof
get your
rice.
get your yeah, but they're eating jollof rice their parents paid for with money that they earned in Europe because your people don't want to pay them the money that they're owed. Uh, get raw, pay them on time, and don't falter on 8 months salary, and maybe they'll return. Who knows? Uh, Gents, this is where we're going to end it. Okay, this is where we're going to end it. Apologies to cut you, but I want us to be able to have time for goodbyes. Big up to On Go Liberia, as always. Thank you so much for coming through. One last thing from On Go Liberia here. So I know of guys who paid their own flights to come down to play for their countries and got injured, and the country sent them back to their clubs without any medical care. Okay, so these are the kinds of nonsenses we're talking about. When that kind of nonsense stops, maybe guys would be more open to playing for their African nations. Anyway, Chadley, shout out to the people at home.
Turning up on a Tuesday. I'm out here with my sippy cup.
come on,
It's going down.
bought your flight, you can get a medical aid, man.
It's water. It's
No,
water,
not you.
guys.
No, not you, not
Oh,
you, not you.
oh,
Ramuki,
sorry.
say peace out to the people at home, man. One last shout out. Can you hear us? I think it's a little bit delayed on his side.
Easier.
Ramuki, can you hear us?
Listen, thank you guys for watching the show. One thing I will say to all Africans is, okay, to all Africans, I am gonna say this. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Okay, to all Africans, let us unite. Yes, we've got our own little problems, but I feel like let's sort them out internally. But let us unite, because I am telling you now, if we unite, they won't stop us. Period. So let us unite. Thank you very much.
All right, Ramuki, last word there, and that was a powerful one. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So that's the verdict, gents. Africans unite, Pan Africans. I mean, for God's sake, how long have your best leaders of all time been telling you to do this? Your Marcus Garveys, your Patrice Lumumbas. Please, folks, let's unite and let's take care of this issue. Otherwise, this
Please.
is Joga Afro, folks. Football from an African perspective. Like, subscribe, follow my gents on Instagram, Facebook, whatever have you. All right, we're here for you. We love you, and we'll be back again, same time, same place next week. Big up, peace.
Big up.